Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In today's in today's lesson, I'm going to talk to you about the CAT prep strategy from February. A lot of you have been asking me to do something about this. And if you're going for CAT 2024 and you are thinking of starting now, or if you start sometime back and you are looking at creating a strategy that gives you the best chance to qualify the exam, starting from here, this session is for you. And do help us by sharing the video, and I hope I'm visible live. I'm just trying to check. Yeah, I think yes. So coming back to CAT prep from strategy, CAT prep strategy from February. The first thing that we need to understand is that when you're talking about CAT prep or a strategy for anything, not just for CAT prep, there are two things you try to define. First is where you are, and the second is where you want to be. So when you start your CAT prep strategy, or when you try to start a strategy for preparing for an exam like CAT, the first thing you ask yourself is, what is your target? I mean, you have to have a percentile target. Of course, you will have a percentile target, but and you should start off with a percentile target that I want to score 99 percentile, or I want to score 99.5 percentile, or whatever. But that percentile target has actually to get converted into a score target. So in case you are looking at a percentile of 99 for CAT in CAT 24, based on last year's experience, year before last experience, you need to be somewhere in the range of 75 to 80, 82 score wise out of 198 mark exam. Of course, CAT is 66 questions, 198 marks, split as 72 marks of verbal, 60 marks of DILR, and 66 marks of quants. So out of 198 marks, if you are looking at, let's say, a 75-80 score, this is what will get you to the targets that or this is what will get you to the percentile target that you have defined for yourself, right? So yeah, so that's the first thing that you define. Okay, I'm preparing for this exam to score that 99 percentile, and for that I need to be able to score out of 198 marks this much. But one of the things that you should understand, and a lot of people miss out on understanding this, that if you talk about, let's say a 75 to 80 threshold. Now when you solve the CAT exam, when you solve the CAT exam on the D-Day, during the solving of the exam, two kinds of pressure are bearing up upon you. One is the time pressure, the other is the exam pressure. So your score, you have to be able to score that much under time and exam pressure. Now, just for argument's sake, suppose I ask you, I mean, let's say we have a group of 3,000 people who scored over 75 marks in CAT 2023. So if these 3,000 people were asked to take the CAT exam without the time pressure, that means I give them the CAT paper and I give them 4 hours to take that CAT paper. I don't give them 2 hours, I give them 4 hours to take the CAT paper. So out of the same 198 marks, obviously the score they would have scored would have been much higher than 75-80. You will be able to score 75-80 in 2 hours only if in a 4-hour time frame, when there's no time pressure on you, you will be able to score something like 120, 125. So when you talk about your score targets, you have to understand that every score that you score in your exam or inside an exam like CAT has two elements to it. What is your ability score? And the ability score is, you just have the exam pressure bearing upon you, no time pressure on it. And then there's a performance score where you have time pressure as well as exam pressure both bearing up upon you. And then that's where you have to be able to score this. So the fundamental underlying factor for somebody who scores 75-80 marks and gets a 99 percentile in CAT is that if you give him the same paper without time pressure, they would be able to score 120 marks. And this conversion, roughly 70% of 60 to 70% of your ability score is what you'll be able to score in the actual exam if you have if you take the exam with the time pressure. And this conversion is true at all percentiles. So if you talk about somebody who scored let's say 97 to 98 percentile by scoring 60 to 65 marks this year's exam. Somebody who scored 60 to 65 marks in this year's CAT exam and hence scored a 97-98 percentile. If you give him that paper in 4 hours, he or she will be able to score 110 marks. People who score 100, I score 105, 110 marks. So if you ask me, that's why I get my 99.97, 98, 99 kind of percentiles. So if you ask me at 105 marks with time pressure, if you remove the time pressure, I think I should be able to score 150, 160. So if I can score 160 marks without time pressure, and that's when in 2 hours I would be able to score 105, 110 marks because I have that ability to score 160 marks without time pressure. So when you are targeting, when you're putting your CAT prep targets and when you're defining what you want to do in the exam, you don't just define your targets in this context. You define your targets in the context of what we call as, at Mindworks we call it as double time testing. Okay, how much am I currently scoring? So what happens then? Once you realize this, that okay, my as I said, when I want to score by October, November, I want to score 75, 80 in my mocks, and in my normal 2-hour mocks. Then in 4-hour exams, I should be able to score 120 by that time. So what will happen is once I define these two as my targets, I need to find out where I am to start with. So even if you don't measure this, measuring this is a good idea to start with. Okay, if I'm given a 4-hour exam, if you're given a 4-hour exam and I take this exam of 66 questions in 4 hours, how much am I able to score currently? So what will happen is you'll start to see an ability gap. So let's say you start with, okay, in a 4-hour exam you can score only 70. If you are going to be scoring only 70 in a 4-hour exam, then in a 2-hour exam you will not be able to score more than 40s. So you then define 2 targets for yourself. Okay, my first target is to raise this ability to 120s. And of course, just being able to get 120 in 4 hours does not mean that you'll get 75 in 2 hours. So once you can get 120 in 4 hours, that's when you start working on trying to say, okay, now if I reduce the time, I should still be able to convert 60, 70. Because once you reach 120 here, then you might still be at 40, 50 here. Right, because you're not able to convert it when time pressure comes in. But at the same time, if you have not reached 120 here, if you're only 70s here, then there's no way you're going to get 75 here. So the first port of call has to be whatever score you want here, you multiply that by around 1.6, and this should be your target score for a double time exam. I mean, of course, at Mindworks, we tell our students that I really don't want you to be taking 4-hour exams. So in our test series, we include something which we call as the mini CATs, where we give a 33 question exam, half the CAT exam, but the full time. So if you take a 99 mark paper and you're getting 40, then you just double the score. It means you're getting 80 marks there. So if you don't have that facility, if you're a Mindworks student, you use the mini CATs to do it. Otherwise, you can try to join a test series also, or you can, even if you're taking the mocks from somewhere else, do a couple of mocks with 4 hours time frame. Don't bother about the time frame they have given you for 2 hours. Do it in a 4-hour time frame, or you break the paper into half. If you don't want to sit for 4 hours, do half the paper in 2 hours time frame and see how much you're able to score, and then double your score to know what your ability score is. So as you go through, you have to keep track of what your ability score is and what is the performance score. So of course, maybe typically, and when you talk about your timeline of preparation from February to November, when you talk about your timeline of preparation from February to November, ideally, if I'm in your place, or if I'm trying to advise you, what I'll say is that if I'm starting from February, I will cut off my time as June, and this is the point of time at which I should be able to reach my ability number. So if I'm targeting 80 marks, 75 to 80 marks in the mock test, by June I should be able to trace a point or reach a point where I'm getting 120 marks if there's no time pressure on the exam, in the exam for me. So if I'm able to hit this, so if this becomes my first target, and preparation during this phase. So your CAT preparation essentially is broken into two phases. One phase is going to be February to June, and the second phase is here. So during this time, I think, I mean, in terms of course, you'll be doing your preparation for quants, you'll be doing your preparation for DI and LR as two separate subjects. You'll be doing your preparation for verbal ability and reading comprehension. You'll be doing your preparation on all these three tracks. But at the same time, you'll keep an eye open about what is happening to your ability score. And of course, when you have this 120 ability score, okay, I want to score a 120 in my ability, or you can aim higher. I mean, if you're trying to aim for 100 marks in the CAT, you can aim for 150 there. That depends on you. But I'm just giving you a sample structure for 99 percentile. You, of course, will have to break it down into the three areas without time pressure. What is my scoring rate? What is my scoring value in verbal? What is my scoring value in DILR? And what is my scoring value or without time pressure? If there's no time pressure, instead of 40-minute sectional, if I take an 80-minute sectional test on verbal, DILR or quants, how much I am able to score? So this 120 has to be by design broken into three numbers. Okay, I want a 50 in verbal, I want to be able to score 30, 35 in DILR, I want to score 40 in quants. So or some other version of this that you need to build as your target values, because the values 120 has to be broken into every section, because when you're preparing each section, you're trying to target, okay, in this section, what is my objective? Without time pressure, how much should I be able to score? So you create those targets. So this is just a sample. If your verbal is weak, quants is strong, you might want to bring this down to 35 and bring that down to 50, bring up that up to 55. So there are many ways to get to 120, 120, 125. So 35, 35, 55 will also get you there. So you define what works for you depending on, and what is going to be easy or difficult to do for you. And based on that, you create your targets. Okay, without time pressure, how much should I be able to score? So of course, I hope you understand that the actual score you'll get in the quant section or the DILR section or the verbal section will just be a fraction of this number. So without time pressure, if you can score 35 in verbal, it's not going to happen that you'll score 35 or even 30 or 40 in the same exam with time pressure. So this will be a limit, and around 70% of this will be a limited score in the actual mocks, right? And if you want to raise your score, so your actual score in the actual mocks, if you have these three numbers, would be around 20s here, around 20s here, and around 35 to 40 here. And that, as you see, 35, 35, 55, 125 adds up to 20, 20, 35 or 40, that adds up to 70, 75, 80, and that is what guarantees you a 99 percentile score. So this breakdown you need to do. And as you start moving, and as you start preparing, and as you start doing the individual sections, you might find that this was easy or difficult to reach, and hence you might want to, I mean, you might have a starting values that you set for yourself, but over a period of time you might want to change these. I mean, you might say that, okay, 35 was my target, but I have reached 35 very easily in May. So maybe I should raise the target to 40, 45, 50, right? So that is the process, and then everything you do is towards that. So when you're doing the quant chapters, you're doing the data interpretation, logical reasoning practice, or you're doing the basic work for verbal and reading comprehension. I'll just come out to the outlines of the work you need to do. This first 5 months is the first four to 5 months. I'm saying that you got the whole of February, whole of March, a whole of April, whole of May, and whole of June. So if you are saying that 30th June is my cutoff date, where I want to be able to score 120, 125 in my non-time pressured exams, then I am ready for my mocks in this phase. So obviously, I hope you understand that CAT prep is in two phases. One phase is where you build ability. The second phase is where you focus on performance and performing under pressure of both exam and time. So obviously, on a normal basis, I mean, how should you split your time between testing and practice? That's again a question a lot of people ask me all the time. So at Mindworks, our thumb rule philosophy is 4 hours of testing and the remaining 30 hours, whatever, if you're putting 35 hours a week, then 30 hours of ability building, and that changes to maybe 10, 25, 15, 20, and hopefully by this time you're starting to get scores, and hence your work required and ability should be low, and you then start saying, okay, 25 hours of testing going forward, which means you're taking around 11-12 tests per month in September, October, November. Each test being 2 hours, 25 hours if you're spending in testing. You'll take around 12 tests every month during those years, during those months, and essentially you have to target a total of around 35 to 40 full-length mocks during this phase, and that should be your time division, right? Of course, if things do not work correctly, I mean, for example, ये 120 तुम्हारा target है without time pressure, there could be three things. You might reach this, you might not reach it, or you might exceed this. So by June end, you might find that you're scoring 140s. Great. By June end, you might find you're scoring 120. Even that is good. In that case, your target now moves ki, okay, with time pressure introduced, I should be able to convert 75, 80 out of those 120. And with time pressure, you might be able to score only 80 here. If that is the case, you're not reached this number by end of June, then you need to use the next couple of months to make sure to understand where the gap is, which area you still don't have that ability to score that score. You wanted 55 in maths, for example. Without time pressure, you're only scoring 40. So you then identify which chapters are hurting you maximum. Go back to those chapters, do more rounds on the chapters, do more questions on those chapters, understand what's missing in your thinking in those chapters, repair it, and keep coming back. So you have to understand one thing, that when you prepare for CAT, it should not be like most people prepare. I'm preparing because I'm a good boy or a good girl. The preparation should be focused or built on solid problem solving abilities. That means you're trying to solve a problem. How do I teach myself? The problem you're trying to solve is not a quants question or a DI question or a verbal question. The problem you're trying to target and solve is, how do I teach myself with my learning abilities, with my time available? How do I teach myself to score 80 marks in a 2-hour paper? So that's the key. And then of course the standard processes when you talk about preparation dimensions. Quants mein during the first 5 months you should be doing 1 chapter per week. But please remember, in quants one of the key elements is that you might have to, for every chapter you should actually plan at least 3 visits to the chapter. So what happens is your quants structure will look something like this. You start with the arithmetic, block 2 in my book. That's the easiest area to start and also the most important, because maximum questions come from there. So if each of this is a week, so in 8 weeks you should cover the first round of the 8 chapters of arithmetic: averages, percentage, ratio, proportion, alligation, mixtures, and all the way to time, speed, distance. And then the next 4 weeks you might want to go to number systems and progressions. And why I've given 4 weeks for 2 chapters here is, one, because number systems is a long chapter, and progressions of course takes only 1 week, but number system might take you 3 weeks because they're equal to around 3 or 4 of these chapters of arithmetic. And the other reason why I've talked about giving you more time in this zone than 1 chapter a week is because of the fact you will be doing round 2s of these. So when you did round 1 of a chapter, and I'll do a detailed discussion of the quants preparation strategy in the next video that I'll take maybe before Friday on the channel, and we'll be typically releasing three important videos every week for you guys, apart from the extracts from my class, etc., which keeps coming out from my classes that I take at Connaught Place. Those keep coming out, or from my online classes. So coming back, round 2s become important here. So round 2 kaise karna hai, kya karna hai, those we'll talk about in the QA, this thing. But you will revisit these chapters. So what happens is, during these 4 weeks, you will revisit the first 4 chapters typically of this thing, because, and when you revisit, you have to resolve the questions, and you also have to try the questions which you were not able to solve in the first round, right? And then you come to the next area is algebra, which is block 4. This is block 1 of my book. That was block 2. When you come to algebra has 4 chapters: functions, inequalities, logs, and quadratic equations. You can take a 6-week period for it in this context, and during the 6 weeks, again, you're revisiting these 4 chapters. You're revisiting this part, and you're also completing this, the new part of this. So effectively, if a general thumb rule is that on a chapter you are spending between 15 to 20 hours for a weekly finish of that chapter, when you're coming to the same chapter the second time, you're going for around 6 to 8 hours of work on that chapter. Because second time you're not needing to do the theory again, and you're not needing to do the basics again. You're just going back to problem solving and doing two things: picking up those questions that you solved and solving them again, and questions that you tried and could not solve in the first time, you try them again the second time, and you'll see a lot of those questions will turn around. So this should be your typical timeline. So this is around 18 weeks, and itna kar loge to broadly around 10 questions of 20 or 22 will come from here. 3 to 5 questions out of 22 will come from here. 3 to 7 questions out of 22 will come from here. So then you're just left with the fag end of your preparation at the end of 18 weeks. And the fag end of your preparation is geometry. You take 3 to 4 weeks for it. And then modern maths, which can be completed in 2 weeks. So this would be typically your structure. And during this time, as I said, during this time you are going to a revisit of these chapters, and during this time you are revisiting these topics. So effectively what has happened is, by the end of 22-24 weeks you would have completed not only one round of the whole syllabus, but you'll also have completed a second round of a significant 70% of your syllabus at least. And broadly CAT is mostly about these 3 areas and plus geometry. So ये 3 areas solid हो जाएगा, तो you'll be on strong footing in your preparation. Parallelly, along with that, in data interpretation, logical reasoning, you have to remember that there is no theory in data interpretation, logical reasoning. There is no theory in that. So it's all about exposure to number of sets. So you just keep track when you're doing your DILR, when you're doing your data interpretation logical. Of course, in quants beyond June, you should start the CAT PYQs, and you should also look at all the questions that you come across in the PYQs and the mocks. So coming back to DILR, when you prepare for DILR, unlike quants where you can keep track of how many chapters you have done, etc., data interpretation and logical reasoning is not about chapters. Pie chart is not a chapter in data interpretation. It's just a question. It's not even a question type. It's just a data representation method. And a question from pie chart can be transported into a question on bar chart if I represent the same data on a bar chart. So that's why pie chart, bar chart is not like chapters like time and work and time split distance of maths, because the solving of a time and work question required different processes than solving a time split distance question. It required different knowledge, different reactions. A pie chart question, if it's converted to a bar chart, it requires the same question, same reactions. These are not chapters, so to say. So don't get too hung up on question types or chapters, either in reasoning or in quants or in DI. Focus on just 3 things, just measure 3 things. Measure 3 numbers along in your DILR preparation, and just keep going in both, and for DI as well for LR. These are 2 separate subjects. The way it works is that you build skills for DI, you build skills for LR, and when you actually go into the CAT, when you're solving a set inside the CAT, you'll find a skill that you built here, used in the question, and then you find a skill that you used here, built here, used inside the question. So CAT mein the DILR is completely integrated in that sense. It's what can be described, what GMAT describes as integrated reasoning is what CAT is now asking. They don't give you straight DI or straight LR questions much anyway. Of course, there are some questions which might be straight LR, but mostly that's what you do. So what you have to do is you have to think of DI and LR as 2 separate subjects to start with, build both of them, and towards the end you start learning how to merge concepts which you have learned from here, or reactions which you have learned from both these areas into one problem and solve that. So coming to DI and LR, just track 3 things as you keep going ahead. The first is the number of sets that you do in assisted problem solving. That means you watch a video, you look at a set and you try to look at the solution of that set. So I call it assisted problem solving. So keep track of how many sets you have seen, or you have seen somebody better doing it. If you're joining our course, we give you close to 300 sets of assisted problem solving in DI plus LR. The same thing in LR also. Look at the number of sets of assisted problem solving you have done, you have gone through. And again, the measurement in DI and LR is also always not in number of questions but number of sets, because every question is a set of questions. So number of sets tried and number of sets solved. So 3 numbers. So to start with, when you're starting your DI or LR preparation, all these 3 numbers are 0. A little bit into your preparation, you might reach a point where you've tried, where you've done 30 here, 50 and 30. That means you did 30 sets in assisted problem solving, you tried 50 sets and you were able to solve 30, which means that you have a 20%, 40% rate of not solving the sets you're picking up, which is perfectly okay. So the numbers we are looking at for serious, for anybody serious preparing for CAT 2023, if you're serious about preparing for CAT 23, the numbers we are looking at is typically around 100 to 150 for DI and 100 to 150 for LR here, around 300. And out of those 300, even if you can get to a point where you have solved somewhere around 150 to 200 on your own, the remaining 100 to 150 which you are not able to solve, you come back to those questions the second time and solve them again. So what happens in your DILR preparation, what happens is that if these are 300 sets, so and you are able to solve 200 and not able to solve 100, these 100 will be interspersed amongst those 300. It will not be like the last 100 you are not able to solve and the first 200 you could solve. The 100 that you are not able to solve will be interspersed between sets that you could solve. So what happens is when you tried, let's say this was set 4 in your experience of problem solving and you could not solve set 4, set 1, 2, 3 हो गया था, set 4 नहीं हुआ तुमसे. So you just try that set for 15-20 minutes, leave the set, keep going back to the next one, keep moving ahead. If a set is not doable for you in 20 minutes, leave the set, keep going ahead to the next one and keep bringing down how many you are able to solve and how many you are not able to solve. So what happens once you finish your 300 round, you come back to the sets you could not solve. So when you come back to set 4 for the second time, you are no longer the same person, because the first time you are doing it, your personal problem solving experience was 3 sets. The second time you are doing it, even though you have not been able to solve 100 sets, you solved 200 of your own. So those 200 that you have been able to solve, they would have grown your ability to think in that subject. So most of the time you'll see, a lot of the time you'll see that sets you could not do in the first round will get solved in the second round. So the idea is to reach a point where you can get to maybe something like 275 here. And then the remaining 20 sets, last 5-7% of the sets you can seek assistance. You can ask your friend, you can ask your teachers. Excuse me. You can ask your friends, you can ask your teachers to do the last 20 sets, but not at the rate of 200 or last 100 push liya. If you do that, you're not going to learn, because please remember one thing: when you solve a set on your own, even if you do it after in a second try or a third try, it gives you a lot of value in terms of the ability to solve. It grows your ability to solve and it also grows your belief in the ability to solve. So that's the target: 250 to 300 sets of problem solving in quants, in DI and in LR separately. And you can start your mocks. I mean, and typically if you take a rough thumb rule of 15 sets per week, so reaching to 250, 300 will take you around 20 weeks or 15 to 20 weeks. अगर 15 का average रखते हो तो कुछ week थोड़ा ज़्यादा कर लो, एक आध हफ्ता 30-40 sets बढ़ा दो, तो what happens is you can actually do it in 12 to 14 weeks. So by mid-June you should be reaching this point where you have experienced 300, maybe 300 tried, 200 solved होगा mid-June तक. तो उसके बाद July, August में you will then go, okay, let me retry those questions. And parallelly you also start taking the mocks from mid-April, May, and you will also start the PYQs from CAT PYQs from June onwards. So this is your DILR structure and strategy that I would suggest timeline wise. And when you come to VARC, in verbal, please understand, solving is not as important as reading. So there are only 4 reasons when you solve a verbal question, there's no 2 plus 2 to be done. You read the set, you read the passage, or you read the paragraph and you answer the question that is asked. Plain and simple. So whatever happens is the processing in the mind with respect to how much you have understood what is written, and how much you understood what is asked, and how much you understand what the option says. So you go wrong in an RC passage or in a verbal question only because you did not understand what is written, or you did not focus on what the question was asking, or you picked up a wrong choice because you did not understand what the choice exactly meant, or you did not do the question option match. That means the option was correct according to the passage, but it was not an answer to the question. So most of your verbal scoring ability is going to be built on the ability to find the main idea, identify a summary of a passage, identify and focus on your sentence comprehension. So you'll have to focus. The first 4 months of preparation has to be focused on building your ability to find main ideas, ability to summarize what was written in a paragraph, and focus on sentence comprehension. And this is very important because inside CAT what you will see is instead of 10-word sentences, you'll find 40-word sentences where subject object interchange so many times that you get lost about what the author is talking about by the middle of the sentence. So, and the thumb rule, the crux skill in verbal is the ability to comprehend sentence. Because if I can understand a sentence, I can understand a paragraph, because a paragraph is a group of sentences. If I can understand a paragraph, I can understand a passage, because a passage is a group of paragraphs. So the ability to grasp the meaning of a sentence is the crux ability that you focus on in the first 4 months. For that, if you think that vocabulary is one of your weak areas and weak points, you also do some active work on vocabulary. Otherwise, if your vocabulary is okay, you don't have much issues in understanding general stuff written in magazines like Guardian, Economist, etc., then you can just do passive work on vocabulary. Passive work on vocabulary means that whenever you are reading something and you come across a word which you don't know, you just put it down in a small notebook that you have and keep writing those words which you don't come, and keep revising those words so that those words become yours. Otherwise, those of you who are weak at vocab, and vocab becomes the gatekeeper for your comprehension. You can't comprehend because your vocabulary is weak. You then need to do active work on vocabulary. So you need to go thesaurus wise, antonym, synonyms through vocabulary build karna hai. You might have to do some word lists, etc. But the notebook part everybody needs to do, right? And solving wise, I think once you are comfortable grasping things, again in RC or in verbal ability, you need the ability to build or get the correct answer of a reading comprehension passage, or the correct answer of verbal ability passage or question without time pressure. That means don't put pressure on yourself to solve an RC exactly correct in 10 minutes. First focus on a 30-minute time frame. Okay, can I do an RC 100% accurate in 20 to 30 minutes? Let me remove the time pressure and take 25 minutes on an RC passage, 800 words, and let me see whether I can grasp it entirely with that time frame. And I mean, logic is very simple. Logic of what I'm trying to tell you is very simple. If I want to face a ball which is 150 kilometers per hour, or if I want playing tennis and I want to take a serve which is 200 kilometers per hour, I first need to learn how to return a serve at 100 kilometers per hour. So if I straight away go to 200 kilometers per hour serve and I don't know how to return a 100 kilometers per hour serve, I'm going to be completely caught out of my comfort zone. Exactly the same in verbal, in RC. If I can't get 95-98% accuracy in unlimited time, in 25-30 minutes per RC, then what are the chances? What is going to be my accuracy rate in 8 minutes? It's going to be haywire. If my accuracy rate in 25 minutes is 60-70%, my accuracy rate in 8 minutes is going to be not more than 30-40% at all. I'm going to solve 5 questions, going to get 2 correct, 3 wrong. And verbal mein, excuse me, verbal mein, as you know, the most important aspect is in verbal, the most important aspect is accuracy. It's not about, everybody can attempt questions because usme kuch karna to hota nahi hai. Read and answer the question, you just have to choose an option. So there's no steps to be done. So only time you take is to read whatever is there in front of you, right? And take a decision about which answer is. So I mean, everybody is able to attempt rates are pretty high in verbal for most people, unlike DILR or quants where attempt rates are low. People will spend 40 minutes attempting only 8 questions also. In verbal, you will see that even the very weak people attempt 12, 13, 14 questions in 40 minutes. So attempting is not the problem. The problem is the accuracy rate. So if I can get to 14 attempts with 12 correct, I'm done. I've got to my target scores. So accuracy in time pressure can only happen if there's accuracy without time pressure. So your first 4-5 months focus in your solving has to be to get to accurate solving, learning what exactly you need to see inside the questions, inside the options, how you stop falling trapped to question and option not matching each other, etc. These kind of traps that are set in the verbal ability and RC questions, you start learning how to avoid them. And by June, if you reach that point where without time pressure you can do 90% accurate, then the challenge starts moving. Okay, I mean, let's say for example in RC, I take 25 minutes. In June, by end of June, I take 25 minutes to get a 90%. What is my time required to get 90% accuracy? So if I am taking 25 minutes in RC passage to get 90% accuracy by June, then my focus will shift to, okay, in July, my focus will be, I want to bring this time down to 18 minutes. I want to retain the accuracy or maybe just drop the accuracy a fraction. From 90% accuracy, I want to get to 85% accuracy, maybe maximum, but I want to drop that down to 18 minutes. If I can do that in July, then the focus shifts, okay, August, September, focus shifts, I want to bring that time down to 12 minutes. If you can finally bring that time down to 8 minutes with 80% accuracy, then you are amongst the toppers in the exam. That's what the 100 percentiles do. So this is the basic structure. This is the basic structure of preparation that you need to adopt. And before I wind up, just wanted to inform you guys, those of you looking for a course, for a coaching program, we have an offline course, CAT classroom course at Connaught Place, Delhi. We're also coming up with something very soon in Bombay. That will be announced on our social media very soon. Patrick D'Souza and me are getting together for launching one batch for the Bombay crowd. So that will come up, but we have an offline course in CP, Connaught Place, Delhi Center. So you get personal mentorship and all this thing. You can call these numbers for inquiry. And we also have a complete online course which is also available, in which you get 250 plus hours of premium content from my side on the entire 250 hours plus hours. का significance ये है कि CAT का पूरा course अगर तुम किसी भी coaching institute में जाते हो 200 घंटे का course होता है. तो we are talking about more than a full CAT course of my own content along with all the live classes, etc. You can talk to these numbers for that, and if you're looking for coaching, and otherwise of course I'll keep coming live here regularly now, and we'll interact on a regular basis during this journey for CAT 24. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being with all of you, and those of you who have a question, please put the question on the chats after the video is released. You can put the question, and I'll make sure that I answer those questions for you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.